Let's talk about Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz is Donald Trump's nominee for Attorney General and the most controversial of his cabinet picks. Now, if you've been listening to the mainstream media coverage of Matt Gaetz, he sounds like a horrible being.
You heard what Speaker Johnson said about Matt Gaetz. What do you think?
I think he's not only unqualified, he is really disqualified. Are we really going to have an attorney general who there's credible allegations he was involved in child sex trafficking?
They keep on focusing on allegations that he was involved in child sex trafficking, specifically engaging in sexual acts with a 17-year-old, which, if true, is terrible. However, there are key details about the case that the media keeps on leaving out that I want to share with you. And at the end of this video, my hope is that even if you don't agree with Donald Trump's pick of Matt Gaetz, you at least understand why he picked him, and you have a more expanded view of a legal and media landscape that the pick of Matt Gaetz is a response to. First, here are the facts. In 2020, the Department of Justice opened an investigation into Matt Gaetz because of allegations that he was involved in a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old. The specific incident that was cited was that Matt Gaetz was seen at a sex party with a 17-year-old engaging in sexual acts. However, in 2023, the Department of Justice decided not to press any charges, citing that they had a lack of credible witness testimony. Now, here the details matter, because I want to show you exactly why the witnesses were considered not credible. One of the primary witnesses was a man named Joel Greenberg, who was an associate of Matt Gaetz. Joel Greenberg was investigated for the same charges of child sex trafficking, but in his case, he was actually found guilty, and that led to a 27-year jail sentence. However, in exchange for reducing that 27-year jail sentence down to an 11-year sentence, Joel Greenberg testified that Matt Gaetz was actually the one who was engaging in sexual acts with a minor as well. But here, it's important to look deeper. Joel Greenberg actually has a history of accusing other men in being involved in pedophilia. In 2020, when Joel Greenberg was running for political office, he accused one of his political opponents, who was a high school teacher, of having sexual relationships with a minor. Joel Greenberg went as far as to pen anonymous letters to the school board accusing the high school teacher of sexual acts with a minor. And this all ended up to be not true. But that's not all. The 17-year-old who allegedly was in sexual relationship with Matt Gaetz was actually in sexual relationship with Joel Greenberg. And it turns out that she was lying too. Joel Greenberg met the 17-year-old on a site for sugar daddies to be paired with sugar babies. And in order to even get on the site, the 17-year-old lied about her age and presented herself as an 18-year-old so that she could get money from men, including Joel Greenberg, in exchange for sexual favors. So not only does Joel Greenberg have a history as a liar who accuses other men of pedophilia, the 17-year-old herself lied in order to be in this kind of sexual relationship with Joel Greenberg in the first place. Oh, and to top it off, there are unconfirmed but reports that this woman went on to be an OnlyFans actress. Despite the Department of Justice doing a 3-year investigation and deciding not to press charges against Matt Gaetz, the damage to his reputation has already been done. And it's worth noting that the House Ethics Committee is continuing to investigate allegations of misconduct by Matt Gaetz. But to be very clear, no evidence of criminal wrongdoing has been found, and the House Ethics Committee has not released any evidence that Matt Gaetz has done anything either criminally or civilly inappropriate. Now, it's possible that the House Ethics Committee investigation, which started last year, may uncover new evidence that Matt Gaetz has been doing something that the public deserves to know about. And it's also true that when Matt Gaetz got nominated to be Attorney General, he resigned from Congress immediately, meaning that the House Ethics Committee investigation is no longer valid because their purview is only applying to members of Congress, and Matt Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress. But at this point, there is no evidence that Matt Gaetz is doing what people are saying that he did. And he was investigated for 3 years by the highest prosecutorial body in the United States. But there's another question to be asked here, which is, why is Matt Gaetz being prosecuted and investigated with this level of vigor in the first place? Why is it the case that despite a 3-year investigation being done, another investigation has been opened into him? On one hand, you might think that where there's smoke, there's fire, and he's legitimately done something bad that needs to be brought to light. And if that's the case, I genuinely hope that it is brought to light in the process of confirming his cabinet position. But proponents of Matt Gaetz would argue that he's been in the crosshairs of his political opponents for years, specifically because he's been one of the most vocal supporters of Trump in Congress. Not only has Matt Gaetz been one of the most vocal supporters of Trump, he's been openly critical of a lot of other Congress members for what he views as outright corruption, like allegations of insider trading by people like Nancy Pelosi.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband cashed in on big tech just as Congress was set to pounce.
Without objection.
And in that article, there's discussion of the spouse of the Speaker of the House making a $6 million call on stocks that netted $5.3 million.
He's also consistently called out other Congress members for taking money from lobbyists.
When it comes to how those raise money, I take no lecture on asking patriotic Americans to weigh in and contribute to this fight from those who would grovel and bend knee for the lobbyists and special interests who own our leadership, who have boo all you want, who have hollowed out this town and have borrowed against the future of our future generations.
Now, what's pretty clear is that Matt Gaetz is particularly bold among Republicans and Democrats alike, because it's highly unusual for a congressperson to go after other congresspeople for allegations of corruption. And this has been what's actually appealing to Donald Trump and the MAGA movement about Matt Gaetz, because they view the Department of Justice, the legal system, and Congress itself as having been weaponized against Donald Trump since day one. Specifically, they point to the seemingly endless carousel of lawsuits that have been levied against Donald Trump since he announced that he was running for president. As I've mentioned in some of my other videos, some of the lawsuits, like the one that got Trump the esteemed distinction of being named a convicted felon, seemed like they might have been at least in part politically motivated. People also point out that it seems like Trump is being held to a double standard, because despite the fact that Joe Biden himself has been accused of sexual misconduct, and Hillary Clinton, we now know, propagated a hoax that Trump was colluding with the Russians to steal the 2016 election, neither of those cases were investigated by the Department of Justice. So by this view, Matt Gaetz isn't a problem. He's a solution to the bigger problem of a legal system that is being weaponized against political opponents of the establishment. And by putting Matt Gaetz in the position of Attorney General, he can drain the swamp. Now, on a more personal note, there's something very troubling and scary to me as a man about how Matt Gaetz is being treated in the public discourse and by the media. The Me Too movement was incredibly important for empowering women who were genuinely victims of sexual assault to speak out against the men who abused them and bring those men to justice. However, now it feels like the pendulum has swung in the other direction, and now we've created a culture where men are presumed guilty until proven innocent. And in Matt Gaetz' case in particular, these were pretty heinous allegations that were not ever found to be true, but they persisted to this day. And despite the fact that the Department of Justice didn't levy any charges, this seems to be something that continually just gets glossed over by the mainstream media. Now, you might not like Matt Gaetz, and there's plenty of reasons to just dislike him as a person, but that's not the same thing as saying that he engaged in sexual acts with a minor. If Matt Gaetz has done something illegal or unethical, the American public does deserve to know, and I hope that that does come out in the process of confirming his cabinet position. But in the meantime, we need to stop forming judgments of people based on rumors. If we as individuals proceed from an assumption of guilty until proven innocent, well, then it becomes impossible for anyone to ever recover from any accusation. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, but only a moment to destroy it. And this could happen to me, and it could happen to you.